The primary results are mostly in. There's a couple races that still aren't official, but there is definitely a clear pattern after tonight's results, and that is that the Democratic Party is no place for moderates anymore. It has been absolutely shocking to see the degree to which the Democratic Party has continued to support their most extreme members, their most far-left members. We saw a lot of that in the 2022 primaries, and that's been extended this time. We saw a literal socialist, right? Tanya Vahovsky is endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America, right? These are the same people that supported Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, but thought that AOC was maybe a little bit too moderate. These people supported Tanya Vahovsky, who looks to, at this point, have retained her Senate seat. Meanwhile, rejecting Stuart Ledbetter, longtime Vermont journalist, who ran a very policy-focused campaign, focused on the issues that most Vermonters who are living paycheck to paycheck are concerned about. They're concerned about affordability. They're concerned about housing. No room for moderates like that who want to focus on policy that actually addresses the concerns of middle-class Vermonters. The Democrats have distinguished themselves by moving further and further to the left. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, we all saw that the Republican Party is welcoming moderates. We saw John Rogers win the lieutenant governor primary. Rogers is a former Democrat who realizes that the party has left him. The party has become extremely progressive, and that is one of the reasons that Governor Phil Scott has had to been required basically to veto a record amount of legislation, because the Democrats who are coming to Montpelier are farther left than anything we've ever had before. And so more moderate Democrats like John Rogers have realized that party has left him a long time ago, and he was welcomed by Republican voters in the primary tonight. So we had, it looks like, very, very low turnout from the reports I've seen, which tells me that it's mostly sort of your diehard party faithful who were involved in this primary. Moderates stayed home. People in the middle stayed home. And the result of that is that moderates who are looking for voters in the fall are more likely going to find a candidate who is going to represent common sense, who wants to be an ally for Governor Phil Scott and not an adversary. Those kind of candidates, moderates are going to find those kind of candidates running as Republicans this year, because Democrat primary voters have rejected almost all, or at least the very, very many of the moderates that were running in their primaries. It's a really disappointing day for conservative Democrats, really Democrats who aren't extremists, because they've got to take a look at their party and recognize they are constantly, consistently rejecting voices of moderation. And that's who's going to be running as Democrats by and large this year. So Republicans are going to be here to bring that balance back, to try to support Governor Phil Scott from this much more extreme agenda that we're likely to see coming from the Democratic supermajority. And it is more imperative now than ever before for voters to be supporting Republicans like Governor Phil Scott and the Republicans that Governor Phil Scott is endorsing. It's going to be the only way that we get away from this constant barrage of tax increases, restrictive regulations that prevent Vermonters from thriving and from being prosperous. So I think the general election is upon us. It's coming very quickly. You know, mail-out ballots will be going out in about 5 weeks, and it's time for Vermont Republicans to show voters in Vermont that we're the party of of problem solving, of moderation, of just common sense, and that Democrats have become a more extreme version of themselves than we've ever seen before.